I hate to start a video in this way, but I have to tell you that everything you've been taught about hydration is probably completely wrong. And I want to help you understand how to do this correctly. And I want to make it simple. I find people tend to fancify things or overcomplicate things because they don't really understand them very well. I want to make this so easy that you could do this with your eyes closed in your sleep. So first of all, water. What type of water is good to drink? What type of water is hydrating? So my general suggestion would be whatever you have that's available, that's affordable for you is probably the best option. I've personally been a digital nomad for about 5 years. We just bought a house and now we're looking at water filtration systems. We're actually very fortunate in that we have well water, but I traveled for 5 years and I didn't have access to all of these fancy systems. And I can tell you that generally speaking, bottled water is good enough. You don't have to get the fancy high pH stuff that's really expensive. Just a spring or mineral water will generally suffice. You do want to make sure that it is not a table water. Table water, or if it doesn't specifically say spring or mineral water, can literally be water that is just bottled from the tap. So you might find that some of the really low cost waters that you buy in some of the cheaper supermarkets like Lidl, Asda, Walmart, they might have like a table water option. This is to be avoided. But otherwise, just a good quality bottled water is the most accessible option. If you are going to go for some sort of in-house option, you could consider something like reverse osmosis. This is a really good option. And you can also look at other types of water filtration that work using things like activated charcoal filters. I don't have a specific brand of either that I recommend, but they are really good options and they are better than buying like a whole boatload of plastic that's just going to accumulate over time. Now you're probably going to ask the question, well, how much should I drink? And the answer to this is, it depends. And I find it extremely frustrating when I watch videos and people are saying, just drink more water. Oh, you should be drinking a gallon of water a day. And if you don't know, a gallon is like 4.5 liters, which is insane. It is extremely excessive. Any practitioner that knows anything about kidney function will tell you that drinking 4.5 liters of water a day is a terrible idea. It is not good for you. Because this is what everyone gets wrong about hydration. Hydration is not just about water, it is also about electrolytes. But you've probably heard that before, and also everyone gets it wrong. No one actually understands the electrolyte side of things. Even though more people are talking about it, they completely miss it, completely off the mark. They say, oh yeah, I know about electrolytes. I take this like little sachet of electrolytes. And you have no idea that the composition of electrolytes in this little sachet sucks. It is terrible. It is not sufficient. It's like trying to put out a house fire with a little cup of water. It's simply not sufficient. So here is my very practical and fairly counterintuitively intuitive, boring advice. The amount of water that you should drink is the amount of water that you feel thirsty for. The only exception to this is when you wake up first thing in the morning, you may not feel thirsty, but you are probably dehydrated. So I would consider consuming a cup of about 300 milliliters of water, even if you don't feel thirsty. This is the only exception to this rule other than medical situations. For example, if you get like heat stroke or a really bad sunburn, you might not feel that thirsty, but in that context, you do need to drink excess water. But generally speaking, like on a daily basis, drink a good chunk of water first thing in the morning, like 300 milliliters. This is not a liter, but this is not an excessive amount. This is like one cup, one Coca-Cola can size amount of water. And from there, you just drink according to thirst. You drink what you feel thirsty for. Now, what you might find is if you're somebody that has been pounding water for years, that you feel excessively thirsty, and you want to keep drinking. The problem is, the reason you're thirsty is because you've actually depleted your electrolytes. So you actually need to drink less water and more fluids that are electrolyte rich, that have an appropriate balance of electrolytes. And again, I want to give you some practical steps on how to do this. The first is vegetable juice. Vegetable juice is very dense in electrolytes. I find that it has the ability to hydrate in a way that just simply drinking water does not have. And this is because it isn't just providing the water component of hydration, it's providing the perfect balance of electrolyte compounds to help your body use this water effectively. Any of the liquids from your body, they're all salty. If you have ever tasted your tears, like if you've ever cried, they're salty. If you've ever tasted your blood, it's salty. It's really salty because it has these electrolyte compounds in it. So The first step would be to incorporate vegetable juice. I would say that if you're drinking between 500 milliliters to a liter of vegetable juice a day, if you did this for, let's say, a month or so, you would balance your electrolytes unless you continue consuming excessive quantities of water. And the reason I really like vegetable juice is it's completely natural and it's balanced by nature. Like there's no formula to it. There's no experimentation. It's just simply the balance of electrolytes that are in natural foods. That's what you need. So this is the best way to get that balance, to restore that balance. And now we can take a look at the specific electrolytes. And this is where everybody really seems to struggle. So the three main electrolytes that we want to look at are sodium, potassium, and magnesium. The reason these things are called electrolytes, you've probably heard of them and you're like, why are they called electrolytes? What do they have to do with electricity? This is just a thing in my water. What's the point in this? So in essence, these electrolytes, they make the water conductive. So this is why, for example, you use distilled water in a battery because it doesn't have electrolytes in it. So these minerals will essentially give the fluids in the body the characteristics, the attributes that they need for them to do the job that they're supposed to do. So for sodium, the best way to get sodium is to get a good quality salt and just to add it to your food according to taste. Again, I know that sounds really boring. Like, why can't you tell me to eat 5 grams of sodium a day? Why can't you tell me to eat 10 grams of sodium a day? Because your need is going to vary all the time. And the best way to know is to listen to your body. Your body is giving you biofeedback all of the time. The foods that you have an appetite for, the salinity of your food, so how salty food tastes, is biofeedback. Is your body telling you how much extra salt you need? So if you're eating a meal and you feel like it doesn't have enough of a salty flavor, you should add a good quality salt until it starts to taste good. This is going to give your body the exact amount of sodium that it needs to function the best. And the opposite is true as well. If you're eating food and it tastes too salty, that's your body saying, I don't want more salt, I need more of the water component. So reduce the salinity of the food. If you do this, you will perfectly balance your sodium levels. Next, we have potassium. This is the one that people get wrong the most. So they say, oh, look, I don't have enough potassium. I'm going to take an electrolyte powder that has potassium in it. The RDA, so the recommended daily allowance for potassium, is 4,700 mg. And if you have an electrolyte product, go and grab it. Pause the video right now. Go and grab it. And I literally want you to look at it right in front of me. And I want you to put it in the comments below. So I want you to grab your packet of electrolytes and look at how much potassium it has in there. And I bet you it's like 97 milligrams. This is like 50 times less than what you need to hit your RDA. That is not doing anything. It is not contributing anything. You could take 50 of those packets just to meet your RDA. That's just for one day. And that's just assuming like an average day. You know, if you're out in the sun, if you're sweating, if you're doing an endurance sport, if you are going for a hike, you need way more. And that little packet of electrolytes, maybe it's enough to stop you getting cramps and to put you into the state where you're having like a dysfunctional level of deficiency, but it is not enough for optimal function. The truth is you get more potassium from food than you do from supplements because it's very difficult for supplement manufacturers to put higher levels of potassium in products because potassium is a very sensitive electrolyte. And if you take too much potassium in one go, it causes some really dangerous health problems. So due to the legality and the legislation around potassium levels in products, it's very hard to find a potassium supplement that actually has a meaningful amount of potassium in it. So leave me a comment below. What electrolyte are you using and how much potassium does it have in it? If it has more than 200 milligrams, I'll be absolutely shocked, but I would be expecting it to say something more like 97. Even if it has 200 milligrams, it's not a meaningful supplement. It's not a meaningful dose. It's not going to have a very significant impact. So here is what we do instead. We try to get this from food sources. One of the best sources is vegetable juice. Again, this is why it works so well. So if you can incorporate vegetable juice, even like 2 or 3 times a week, it will provide you with a significant amount of potassium and it will really help to boost your potassium levels. The vegetable juice also has magnesium as well. So this is why I like juicing as the thing that balances everything out because it has everything in a good balance. The next is coconut water. Coconut water is the best source of potassium in my experience. I can remember I actually have a story where my brother was hospitalized with some inflammatory bowel disease and he was basically losing his fluids and he could not retain potassium. They even put him on an IV fluids with saline and potassium. They could not get his potassium levels to increase. And I can remember my dad, he went to buy some coconut water because he searched on the internet. He searched, what's the good source of potassium? And it was bananas and coconut water. And my brother couldn't really eat bananas because he had IBD and he couldn't really eat these raw foods. But he drank a bottle of coconut water. And just to give you some context, 100 milliliters of coconut water has 200 milligrams of potassium. So my brother drank the bottle of coconut water and all the hospital staff were like, wow, it worked. And his potassium levels began to increase. So you're probably going to get more potassium in 100 milliliters of coconut water than you're going to get in a full dose of your electrolyte powder, whatever it is that you're using. So like for me, so I'm in northern Portugal and I'm inland, and in the summer, I've been out like working in the garden. I'm sweating my ass off and I'm just drenched. I'm drenched right now. This is literally sticking to me. You probably start to see the sweat beginning to form. I'm sweating here. I've got my coconut water right here. This just from the supermarket. So I can drink up to 2 liters of this a day, and this provides 4,000 milligrams of potassium. It's really hard to get enough potassium from a supplement. You're just simply not going to do it. Juicing is your best option. Coconut water is a really amazing support. And other than that, you really have to get it from food. So when it comes to food, your best options are generally anything that's green. So things like salad leaves, lettuce, that sort of stuff. That's really good. And again, these would be the things I would suggest you to juice. So when you're juicing, you're concentrating all of these things down. And actually, surprisingly, avocados. Avocados are one of the best dietary sources. I believe one medium-sized avocado has 1,600 milligrams of potassium. So that is actually like a huge dose. That's like, so imagine this whole bottle, it's this much in one avocado. So avocado is also really, really good source. I know some people struggle with it because FODMAPs or because histamine or because of some other type of food sensitivity. Generally, coconut water is very well tolerated. It's miraculous. I love it. Coconut water, absolutely amazing. And then onto magnesium. So the best thing you can do for magnesium, in my experience, tends to be to just take, you don't generally need as much magnesium as you do with the sodium and the potassium. These are the two that I find tend to be the biggest problem for people with hydration. So as just a general guide, I would suggest just taking like a lower dose magnesium every single day. So something like 1 capsule before you go to bed tends to be fine. You want to be mindful of the form. So like magnesium citrate, magnesium oxide, magnesium sulfate. These are very bad products to take orally because they have very poor rates of absorption. It's like 5%. It's really, really low. Instead, what you're looking for is a magnesium bound to an amino acid chelate. So something like magnesium malate, magnesium glycinate or bisglycinate, magnesium threonate. These are all better options. Personally, what I really like to do is I have a product that's basically a combination of different forms of magnesium so they can plug into different metabolic functions in the body. And I also use Epsom salts. So these are magnesium sulfate, which again has a low absorption, but you could put like 10 cups in the bath and you get a really good absorption that way, because even though it has a poor absorption rate, if you put loads of it in the bath, then you'll get a really good level of absorption. So generally speaking, if you do this, what I've roughly outlined in the video, this will give you more benefit with regards to hydration than probably all of the other videos that you've seen about hydration. There's so much on there. I've watched so many videos about it before making this video. Honestly, they all suck. So I felt like I really have to. For me, this is not the most exciting topic, but it is really important because if you don't have correct hydration, you can't have energy in your cell. All of your cells simply don't work. This is like a really basic thing you need to get right if you want to heal. So as boring as it was, maybe it's not so boring for you now that we've talked about how interesting this was. But for me, this is on more of the boring side of things, but it is important. So a video had to be created. So let me know, did this make sense to you? Do you have a better understanding around how hydration actually works? And what would be really, really nice is let me know if you feel a little bit less overwhelmed, because I can remember for about like 2 years, I was like, maybe I'm not healing because I'm not drinking the right water. Maybe I'm not pure enough. Maybe I'm still not deserving of healing because my water is still too impure. And it was completely not true. It was, you don't have to be perfect to heal. This is basically as close as you can get to hydration science as there is. And I'd really love to know if this has put your mind at ease and made this a little bit simpler and easier for you to not just understand, but to actually implement in your life. And if you do have any questions or any other points that might be helpful for other viewers, please leave me a comment below. So that's everything from me today. Hope you've really enjoyed it. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.